It's 6 p.m. and we're getting ready for our first session. I'm Sonia Aurora, the Director of College Counseling at Colorado Academy. On behalf of the Rocky Mountain College Night Planning Committee from Aspen High School, Colorado Academy, Dawson School, Fountain Valley School, Kent Denver School, Peak to Peak Charter School, and the Colorado Springs School, I want to welcome you to the panel session, Where the Creatives Roam, Applying to Arts, Music, and Performance Programs. Tonight, we are thrilled to have with us Cedric Williams from Skidmore College, Armin Sarkisian from Chapman University, Kate Bittner from Lawrence University, and our host moderator, Lindsay Monisel from the University of Richmond. Please feel free to add your questions to the Q&A section where we'll check them and respond to them throughout the program. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Lindsay and I'll see you at the end of the session. Thank you so much for coming.
Sure. Thanks, Sonia. So again, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to our session Where Creatives Roam. We all have the privilege of working at institutions that have liberal arts, as well as strong programs in theater, music, dance, visual arts, so that you can pursue those passions academically and at times co-curricularly, if not academically. So I'm going to allow my colleagues to introduce themselves, and then I'll do a brief intro as well, and then we'll get right into the questions to get to what hopefully you all want to see and hear from us. There is the Q&A feature at the bottom there, so please feel free to submit your questions that way. I will be monitoring to make sure that we get any questions that you have in addition to those that we think are sort of frequently asked questions done. So Armin, I will kick it to you to introduce yourself since you're right there on my screen.
Sounds good. Thank you, Lindsay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Armin Sarkisian. I'm the Director of First Year Admission at Chapman University. If you're not too familiar with Chapman, we are a mid-sized comprehensive liberal arts and pre-professional university, have a lot of performing art programs that many of you from Colorado apply to. Fun fact, I'm actually originally from Colorado, so it's always great to meet with students from the area and look forward to chatting with you all tonight. Thanks.
All right, Cedric, you're up next.
Thank you guys for joining. My name is Cedric Williams. I am one of the assistant directors over at Skidmore College. If you guys are not familiar with Skidmore, we are in Saratoga Springs in upstate New York. So you get the best of both worlds. Literally, you can go hiking and you can also go to a really good concert in downtown Saratoga as well. But small liberal arts school, 2,500 students. We really do emphasize the ability to study the arts and sciences at a really high level in a liberal arts setting. So students necessarily don't have to go to conservatories or any kind of specialized schools. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they can study those areas at just a high level in a liberal arts setting here at Skidmore.
All right, and Kate, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Bittner. I'm the Director of Conservatory Admissions at Lawrence University. I'm also a Lawrence grad myself, class of 2012. I have a Bachelor of Music in Violin Performance. So I work with all of our music students wanting to study music. And Lawrence, if you're not familiar, is located in Appleton, Wisconsin. Fun fact, we do have a direct flight from Appleton to Denver now. It's a really nice 3-hour flight, but we incorporate the liberal arts and the Conservatory of Music in one seamless university. So it's great for those students who really want to do music and something else too. And I'm sure you'll hear a lot from my colleagues about the liberal arts as well. So thanks a lot for having me.
All right, and again, my name is Lindsay Monisel. I'm a Director of Admission at the University of Richmond, located in beautiful Richmond, Virginia. Also a direct flight to Denver, slightly longer than I'm sure from Wisconsin. But we have strong liberal arts at the core of what the university offers, with small programs in the visual, performing, music, theater, dance, that a lot of our students will opt to do those majors in addition to second majors. So it's incredibly common for our students to double up and include multiple academic areas in their studies while at Richmond. So I am going to start us off with sort of a combination of two questions. And, you know, Kate and Cedric, you both touched on the idea of a conservatory. So the first question is, what is the difference between a school of music, a department of music, and a conservatory? And maybe in that we can touch on the difference between a BA and a BFA. So
I can take this one.
Yeah, Kate, jump in.
Yeah, so this is a question I get asked a lot by prospective students and families. What's the difference between all of those? Because so many colleges have some really great music programs, but they're called different things. So really the names came from a little bit of an antiquated music model. Conservatories were considered the elite of elite. You would only be doing music stuff and nothing else. And School of Music was still pretty good, not quite as elite as conservatory. You still a high level of music, and Department of Music was kind of on the lower end of things. Today, though, what the school is called does not matter. The conservatory style education is really, you'll be focusing a lot more on music. But that doesn't hold true for every conservatory. Like Lawrence's conservatory is really integrated into the liberal arts, and we're expecting you to take quite a few classes outside of music. And there's some really, really fantastic departments of music and schools of music around the country. I know St. Olaf is a department of music, and they're one of the highly esteemed music schools in the country. So more so nowadays, it's more important for you to find the right style of teaching and the right fit of a university, more so than what it's called. You'll get the same really, really great education no matter where you go, but it has to be a good fit for you and what you're hoping for as far as your career goes.
Anything else? Anyone else to add?
Kind of just adding to that, yeah, just the fit, the exposure, and places like Skidmore and all the liberal arts schools on here, you're gonna meet people beyond the music or whatever kind of major you're going into. Not to say that you necessarily won't at a conservatory, but it's a little bit easier to do it at a liberal arts school, I think. You're going to be taking classes, different kinds of classes outside of that major. You're also going to be making friends with people who might be a business major, people who might be a political science major, and so on.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, Cedric, I think that one of the things that's important to understand here is the composition of the BA degree, the BM degree, the BFA degree, and the amount of credits that you're going to be pursuing within that area of study versus the overall credits that are required to graduate from the institution and the general education that might be required. So traditionally speaking, your BA degrees are going to have the lowest level of requirement from a credit standpoint. BMs would be a little bit of a level up, and then the BFA would usually be the highest amount of credits within that focused area, that full Bachelor of Fine Arts, whether it's in music or theater or film. Those degree compositions will definitely impact your time at whatever university you decide to pursue. I have a lot of students that'll ask about double majoring. If you're trying to do a BFA with another program, you're going to have a really tough time doing it. BFAs are super credit intensive, and you have a lot of commitments outside of the classroom time, whether it's performances or otherwise, that you need to dedicate towards fulfilling that BFA degree. BA degrees are much more palatable and easy to go with a double major or a major and a minor, just to add to that.
Great. So with sort of that established, you know, what does it look like for a major in regard to the classes that are available? What classes are available only to majors versus to students that are looking to take this as perhaps an elective credit or for general education requirements, rehearsal space, as well as participation in co-curricular activities. So whether that's, you know, the orchestra ensemble, are there specific companies that are only for majors within that area, whether it's music or theater or what have you. I know at Richmond, to just start, you know, being that a lot of our fine arts majors are smaller, our departments rely heavily on students outside of those majors to participate co-curricularly, and that's definitely encouraged. And something that you'll find at a lot of liberal arts institutions, that there's the chemistry major who is the lead in the theater production that year, or the business major who wants to also do the visual arts and translate that to potentially fashion or marketing, something like that. So it's definitely, you see a lot of crossover with that.
Yeah, I think that every institution is going to treat that type of a question differently. And I think that even within institutions, different departments or areas of study will treat it differently. At Chapman, for instance, our film school, there's only 2 classes that you can take if you're not a film school major. If you're not within Dodge College, there's only 2 classes that are open to you. Nothing else is available. If you want to be in the music ensembles, you don't need to be in music major. It is a conservatory of music, but you can perform in any of the ensembles or areas without being a major. If you want to be a lead role in a departmental sponsored play with a theater department, you have to be a BFA student. So it's going to vary from university to university, college to college, as well as within universities. Departments will have different policies. So it's really important to do your front end research and your search process.
Yeah, what they said. It's going to be different everywhere you look. So it's a really good question to ask as you're exploring colleges. At Lawrence, we open the conservatory to everybody. So if you want to play in the orchestra, or if you want to be in the jazz band or in one of the choirs, every ensemble is open to anybody by audition. So everyone auditions at the beginning of the year. And so if you're interested in doing that, then just put together an audition. No big deal. We also offer private lessons to non-music majors if they'd like to do that, and there's space in our faculty studio. The only tricky parts are maybe like our music theory classes. If you want to get into those, there's usually a placement exam process that you'll have to go through to get into the right level of music theory. And some of our music education classes that are usually reserved for our music education majors who need those classes to graduate and become licensed teachers. But other than that, generally all of the other music classes, academic classes, are available to anyone as well. So it's a great question to ask as you're exploring colleges, because it will be different at every school you're looking at.
And very similar to Kate, Skidmore is pretty open as far as what students can take. So any student can take a theater class. They can wake up and say, hey, I really want to do a theater class next semester, and they can do that without having to major in theater. Same thing goes for music, and across the board, same for sciences and all of our disciplines, which is really, really unique, because I speak to students, interview students, and dance is their whole life. That's something that they've done their whole life. They've done ballet since they were like knee high, but they just don't want to major in that when they get to college. So it's very beneficial, because, if they just want to do a class for exercise, they can do that. They can just do that dance class to keep in shape during college. And they can do that without having to make that full commitment to dance. And again, that's across the board for all of our arts.
Great. So, Kate, you mentioned auditions. And a lot of questions come around the portfolio or audition process. What does that process look like? What types of material should be included in that? If it's an in-person audition, what do I wear? So maybe if we could all address what portfolios and audition processes look like for both majors and non-majors at our institutions.
Yeah, great question. So you're going to hear this a lot tonight, I suspect, that every school is different. And I'm really sorry in advance, because it can get a little confusing, and with everyone's different requirements and processes, be sure to stay organized as you're going through your college search process. Keep track of those audition due dates or application due dates and what's required, and et cetera, et cetera. If you're a spreadsheet person, I highly recommend keeping track of the schools you're interested in with a spreadsheet, because I'm really sorry, we all do it differently. But the audition process will go hand in hand with an application to the school you're considering. Now, some schools will have just one application for the whole school, and then you would submit some supplemental music items like a music resume or music teacher recommendation and an audition. Some schools will have you do a separate application for the music school. You have to apply to the university as a whole, and then a separate application for the music department or music school. Some schools will have you do a pre-screening round where you're recording an audition ahead of time to send to that school. And then if the faculty would like to hear you again, they'll invite you for an in-person audition at their school. Some schools do not have pre-screenings at all. And so it's a little bit different. So, as you're looking at schools, it's a really good question to ask of your admissions counselor at those schools, what the audition process is like, how do I apply, etc. And then know exactly what's required of you in these auditions as well. So for lots of instruments, the auditions will have very typical audition requirements. So I'm a violinist, so you have to know all of your scales and arpeggios, because they'll pick a few out at random and have you play that B flat major scale up and down. And then you'll do an etude, and then a movement of a standard violin concerto from memory. That's pretty standard across the board, but it's not a requirement across the board. So some schools may tweak it a little bit based on what they're interested in hearing you play. So keep track of that too. And then what to wear. If you're on campus auditioning, you don't need to dress in a full tux or a ball gown. I'm sure you look gorgeous if you were in those, but dress nicely, something that's comfortable, that'll give you some room to move and to breathe, like you're going into a nice business interview instead of a ball gown or a tuxedo. But no jeans, no tennis shoes, no t-shirts. Like, make an effort, because this is probably the first impression you're going to have on the faculty who are going to be deciding on your admission decision. So I just talked a lot. I'll let my colleagues jump in too.
I can add a little to it, especially from the portfolio side, not just audition based, because I'm sure there's some visual arts students that are out there that would like to submit some portfolios. My biggest piece of advice at this point is to be very meticulous in reading through what you're being asked to submit. All of us, as Kate just said, have different requirements and things that we ask for, but I promise you, we also have really good directions and are very specific in what we ask for and how we want it submitted and when we want it submitted. Those are elements that you have in your control. You can't control the final outcome of a decision, but you can decide what you submit, how you submit it, how it's formatted, and when you submit it. And if you don't read the instructions and you don't follow those instructions, especially for hyper competitive programs, you're going to have a hard time really getting in. And I hate to say that, the semantics of like one thing that can make a decision make or break, but my film production program, we have over 1,200 applicants and we admit 90 students. And if you're not following directions, that's going to be a really big red flag from the get-go. So I really can't emphasize enough, like, read through the instructions. I know it's tedious and we try to make all the information really consumable. You're going to get a lot of text messages, emails, you're going to get peppered with information from a variety of institutions. Once you have highlighted those that you're serious about and that you're applying to, follow Kate's advice, be organized, spreadsheets, make sure you understand what we're asking for you to do and follow those instructions.
And yeah, I would just echo everything these guys said. Yeah, just it differs from school to school and it can become confusing because, Lawrence University might be completely different than Skidmore. Two really good institutions, especially for as well as Chapman University. I don't mean to leave you out. Three really good institutions, but they can go about it three different ways as far as the application process. We're further towards the So we do not require portfolios or anything like that. Students can definitely submit them. We recommend it. It definitely does add a little pizzazz to your application when we're reading your application, definitely. But because you're not applying to a school per se, you're applying to the college as a whole, we don't require any kind of portfolios. And another thing that kind of just throws a curve on it is scholarship opportunities as well. So you got to keep in mind that we do have one of our 2 merit scholarships is our music scholarship. So you're going to apply a little bit differently than if you were not applying for that music scholarship.
Agreed. And deadlines, spreadsheets, it helps, not just for arts programs, but for all college applications. I will say for those visual artists, just a little plug, there are, and pandemic wise, I'm not sure what kind of accommodations have been made, but if you are a visual artist, there are national portfolio days that take place. There is one that takes place every fall in Denver. In the past, it's always been hosted at the Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design. And that's a great opportunity if you're looking at visual arts programs to go and get feedback on your portfolio from multiple different schools. There are schools that have art programs there, but also art-based schools. So members of the Associated Colleges of Art and Design. So just if you're on the visual side and want some feedback from professionals on this side of the desk before submitting a portfolio, that's a great way to get feedback. And also utilize some of your teachers in your schools. I mean, they have experience in these areas, obviously, and are professionals. And so, you know, seeking a little bit of feedback in terms of really how to put your best artistic foot forward, I think is super helpful. So those are just my 2 cents. But yeah, spreadsheet of the deadlines and the requirements. Can't echo that enough, just all across the board. So
Before we move on, if I can just say one more thing. I know we said to stay organized and it might get a little confusing and overwhelming. It's true, but you have people in your corner to help you with this. So all of us as admissions counselors, this is our job. This is what we do. It's what we're here for, is to help you through this process. So never, ever, ever feel afraid to ask us for help. Or if you're confused about the instructions or how to submit something or what are the faculty looking for, that's our job. Ask us. There's no bad question. So always use us as a resource. Add this to your spreadsheet. Who's your admissions counselor at each school and what's their email address? So never feel like you're bothering us. If you have a million questions, like I said, this is what we get paid to do, and we want to help you get through this process with as little stress as possible, whatever that means nowadays. But you know, we want to make it just a little bit easier for you to get through this process and find the right school for you.
yeah,
Kind of going off of that as well. Access to professors and like department chairs, if they have like open community hours, especially now with a lot of things going virtual. This is like a Zoom session where you can speak to, you know, professors and head of departments and get those questions out as well. So I would definitely take advantage of that.
all right. So the next set of questions are really about sort of the way the question was written in was, what is the value of getting a music degree anyway? But I think, you know, the idea of selecting a degree, particularly in a time when there's so much pressure, not just, you know, what is the value of the degree that you're getting? And a lot of times the humanities come under fire, but certainly the arts are a part of that camp of, you know, is there value in this degree and what am I going to do with this degree? And I think, you know, to kick off a really general answer, anything that you want. And I think that's the beauty of finding an arts program within a liberal arts institution that offers sort of that breadth while allowing you to get in depth into your particular academic area of interest in music or theater or dance or sort of whatever in the creative pursuits that you do. But I'm also curious to hear what my colleagues have to say about that. Anyone else?
I was going to let someone else answer first, but if if no one else wants to answer.
Take the floor. You are the music major here and started with that. So I'm looking forward to hearing your response.
Okay. I'm just trying not to speak so much that everyone gets sick of me. Okay. I'm getting on my soapbox about this because I get to ask this question a lot. And it's an understandable question. So parents, you don't want your kid living in your basement after they graduate because they can't find a job. I'm here to tell you that you can absolutely get a job as a music major or as a humanities majors or art major. And here's why. First of all, you have so many transferable skills that any job is looking for. So if you're a musician, you have a creative spark. You can think outside the box when you're making music, and when you're working as a team. Like, you can really think outside the box and come to solutions that maybe nobody else has thought of. Speaking of team, you're in ensembles all the time. You are a great team player. So that's something that you inherently have as a musician. You are able to think across disciplines as well. So you're perfecting your craft in music, but you're also thinking about the historical context of the music, and you're thinking about how an audience might relate to you, and you're thinking about how to market yourself as a musician. So you're learning a lot of these cross-disciplinary skills that any sort of business is looking for. And then, speaking of business, you're a business person as well. You have to be an entrepreneur to make it in music and create your own musical life. Success these days in music doesn't always mean that you're the concert master of some great orchestra, or you're the next Yo-Yo Ma, or you're the next Itzhak Perlman. You can make a musical life on the side, and you can be successful in that and find enjoyment in that. These sort of soft people skills that you get from being a creative person and an artistic person is something that is really valuable in the real world too. So, getting your first job, being able to speak and present in front of people will take you a long way, and being able to collaborate and communicate well is just something that you really need in order to be good at a job in any sort of industry. I'm on my soapbox and rambling a little bit. There are also a ton of jobs outside of the world of performing or teaching music that you might not know about quite yet. So arts administration is a big one. Maybe you're running that symphony. Maybe you're the CEO of that symphony. Or maybe you're running a nonprofit that brings music to underprivileged communities. Or maybe you are touring. You're a freelance musician. You've started your own chamber ensemble that's touring all over the place. Maybe you do become a teacher and you're performing on the side. Maybe you're an ethnomusicologist. You're traveling the world, learning about music from other cultures and writing about it and doing that academic side of music work. So there's a ton of career options out there that you need a music degree for. But even so, if you don't pursue music as a career, those music skills and artistic skills are going to transfer to any job you go to. So don't worry, you can get a job, I promise. And, make sure you have that musical life, whatever that looks like for you. Okay, I'm stepping off now.
Just to add to that, I think all great points. I definitely agree with that. Taking advantage of the liberal arts setting, definitely. So you'll take different classes, you'll take business courses, you'll take history courses. So you can write, you have different skills, as Kate mentioned. Here we actually have we have a program called SelfDetermined Majors, where essentially it's students who create their own major. And one of our most popular and staple ones is actually arts administration. And it came about 5 or 6 years ago. There was a theater student who said, I want to study theater, but I also want to do business at the same time. And since then we added it. So not only do you get that that foundation in the arts, but you also get a foundation of business, how to market your product, how to market yourself, how to navigate in the business world. And now you can choose any form of art, theater, music, dance, ceramics, jewelry making, whatever have you, and combine it with business for arts administration. Students have done jewelry making and concentrated in that, and also combine that with arts administration, and they go on to run their own company in the future. So it's a lot of opportunities, definitely. I would agree with Kate.
And those are both those answers.
Another one.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say another field, arts therapy as well. So if you want to combine arts and sciences, that's another one as well.
I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle at this, and it's because I have had the unfortunate privilege of sitting on our university's dismissal committee. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the most common thread of students that are up for dismissal or those that are dismissed are because students are pursuing majors in areas of study that they aren't genuinely interested in or passionate about. And they're doing so mostly, no offense parents, because parents are wanting them to do so. And I have sat through so many dismissals over the past 15 years of students crying their eyes out, talking about they wish they could pursue this, but they have to pursue that because of what their parents are dictating them to do based off of assumptions of, professional success down the line. I have very rarely seen a student at dismissals that is thrilled about what they're pursuing academically. And I honestly can't even think of one time where that has happened, where they said, I am so excited about what I'm pursuing, that I love this area of study. Those students are thriving in so many ways. And, really what Kate and Cedric just added, it really emphasizes it more, but that's just a little bit of a different take. And it's definitely a sad sight to see, but it happens regularly.
Great, thank you. In the interest of moving on, we did get a question in the Q&A, which is a very specific question, and I'm sure we all have very different answers based on how our programs are structured. So the question is, in terms of studying music, would composition and performance be considered as different majors? So for instance, at Richmond, within the music major, you can have a focus within musicology, performance, or composition. And so you can actually choose which you'd like to focus in on within that broader umbrella of music. But I'm guessing at the other three institutions here, there's probably a different answer to that.
Yeah, at Lawrence, they are two different majors under the Bachelor of Music degree. So Bachelor of Music is the big umbrella, and then the two majors are performance and composition. They're separate, but you can double major with those two. It's pretty common.
Ditto.
At Skidmore, they are all within the music major for us. So they're not separate or different.
So on the same sort of academic focus track, Armin, you brought this up earlier, the ability to combine the BFA with another double major, but if we all could talk a little bit about how easy or difficult it is for students to do either a double major and get that dual degree, and some common areas. I mean, I think the nice thing, for instance, at Richmond, the nice thing is that, we do have that arts management piece. And so we certainly see students doing that, but I think more often than not, and my colleagues can agree or disagree, that you'll find students that are doing, music and psychology, or, economics and visual arts. And there's not really any one set combination. There are certainly going to be those things that are a little bit more challenging if you want to fit all of the academic requirements of two majors in addition to some of those other really important co-curricular offerings and opportunities, like the ability to study abroad, or like the ability to participate fully in other campus programming. And so, make sure that as you're doing your research of what are your academic interests and where could you possibly pursue one, both, maybe more than two, take those factors into consideration. Is there a lot of ability for these potentially disparate areas to have courses cross-registered? And you might be surprised, but that's again where your research is going to come into play a little bit.
Yeah, I was just going to add in, If there's interdisciplinary programs, whether they're majors or minors, some institutions might offer that as an option. There might be flexible general education at institutions where if you decide to add a minor or a second major, they might waive sections of general ed. If you study abroad, they might waive sections of general ed. Also, something to be very cognizant of is AP and IB credit or dual enrollment credit that you might be able to come in with to knock off some of that GE. It really is all about trying to find out, what's your perceived timeline of your degree. Traditionally, it's a 4-year timeline. How do you pack in what you want? Be as efficient as you can. Know that those classes that you're taking can, if you don't like math, but you take AP stats and you get a 4 or 5 on that exam, boom, you're done with math at Chapman forever, depending on your major. So, there's a lot of things to really consider when it comes to the concept of double major or major and a minor, study abroad. Most of us, I would imagine all of us here, have excellent academic advising centers that are available to help you plan your time at our institutions. They're great resources, but be aware of that stuff coming in and make sure that you're doing your research on the front end.
Yeah, at Lawrence, we offer 2 degrees, the Bachelor of Arts and the Bachelor of Music. I'm sorry, 3 degrees. We just added a new one, Bachelor of Musical Arts in Jazz and Contemporary Improvisation. But we have a 5-year dual degree program where you can get the Bachelor of Music and Bachelor of Arts in 5 years. And it is absolutely doable. My intern who works for me in the admissions office, she's doing the dual degree in music education and neuroscience, because why not? If she loves both things and she wants to do it, so that's great. So we've streamlined it, so it's absolutely doable in 5 years. It's very popular at Lawrence. About half of our conservatory student body is in the dual degree program. You get 2 faculty advisors, someone from the conservatory and someone from the college. And the gen eds are pretty much the same for both degree programs. So you really only have to take 1 set of gen eds for both degrees. And so with the guidance of your advisors and the Center for Academic Success, they can help you plan out your courses, be efficient with your time, find that time to study abroad, get your lab credits in, get your ensemble credits in, and be just fine. It is a more rigorous program, but you do get extra support through that program too.
And just to sure, yes, it is possible. It is a little bit more difficult because you are taking on twice the workload, literally. In many cases, though, it's a lot of interdisciplinary opportunities as well, though. Students who have done dance and psychology, a lot of cool opportunities, and then for their final, instead of just writing a paper, they do a dance performance where each segment is an expression of a different mental disorder. So just it's a lot of unique opportunities, definitely. But it is possible, definitely, and very beneficial. Kind of going to Armin's point earlier, students finding passion in, doing multiple things. Skidmore, we have students have very much a do both mentality. So they choose places like this where they can pursue different areas and make the curriculum really their own here.
Great. So it looks like we've got about a minute left. Sonia is back to send us on our way. So perfect timing, everybody. And I really appreciate people being here for the session.
Thank you, Lindsay, Armin, Cedric, and Kate. This was really wonderful. And Anna from StriveScan as well. I'm so glad that we were able to benefit from your expertise today. I was taking notes too. And I'm going to reach out to all of you when I have questions. This is the first session for the evening. There'll be a 10-minute break, and then the next session will start at 6:50. If you didn't sign up for a second session, you can go to the link that I provided in the chat and click on it and sign up for a session. There's also a survey in the chat for after you finish your final session for the evening. We would love your feedback. It really helps us. In the StriveScan link in the chat, you'll also find information about for students about how to participate in the Q&A with the college reps. That's from 7:30 to 8 p.m. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's give everybody a virtual round of applause, please. I'll applaud for everybody. Thank you.